They call it the drowning ground. And when a Navy SEAL who survived Hell Week can't last 7 minutes in these waters before begging for rescue, you know something is terribly, terribly wrong. 400 meters. That's how far one of America's deadliest warriors made it before the safety boat had to pull him out, shivering and broken. This is a man who'd fought in Fallujah. A man who'd survived some of the most brutal military training on planet Earth. And he lasted less time in this Australian beach than it takes most of us to make coffee. His words to the instructors? Quote, "You're not training soldiers. You're selecting psychopaths who want to die." So what exactly happens at Swanbourne Beach in Western Australia that breaks elite operators like children? What kind of test pushes the human body so close to death that even America's finest can't handle it? And here's the question that should terrify you. Why have 2 deaths allegedly been buried in classified files for decades, while the official record claims 0 fatalities? We're talking about water cold enough to stop your heart in 90 minutes, waves tall enough to drown you while you're still swimming, and a 4-kilometer nightmare that 77% of candidates can't finish. Most don't even try. They walk up that beach in defeat before hypothermia claims them. But here's where it gets darker. In 2009, 12 men were pulled from the water unconscious or hypothermic in a single morning. 8 went to hospital. And the Australian SAS response? They changed nothing. The swim continued. Because, according to them, if you can't handle drowning in training, you'll die in combat anyway. Today, I'm taking you inside the most brutal selection test in the Western world. The swim that makes Navy SEAL Hell Week look merciful. The beach where strong men float face down and safety boats circle like sharks waiting for the next casualty. You're about to discover why elite warriors from 3 continents call this place a death trap. Why families whisper about sons who never came home from selection. And why the Australian government won't declassify certain water-related training deaths from the 1970s and 80s. Stick with me, because what you're about to hear will change everything you thought you knew about Special Forces training. This isn't inspiration. This isn't heroism. This is something far more disturbing. Welcome to Swanbourne. Welcome to the drowning ground. Swanbourne Beach, Western Australia. 0430 hours, July 2008. 42 men stand at the waterline in complete darkness. The Indian Ocean stretches before them like a black void, waves hammering the shore at 2 to 3 meters. Water temperature sits at 16 degrees Celsius. Air temperature has dropped to 8 degrees. Wind screams in from the southwest at 35 knots, cutting through their combat uniforms like razors through paper. The instructor's voice breaks through the roar of surf and wind. You will swim 4 kilometers, north to the rocks, then back. Full uniform, boots, weapon. If you drown, we will recover your body. If you quit, walk up the beach. Questions? Silence hangs in the frozen air. Nobody speaks. Nobody moves. Get in. Within 90 minutes, 11 men will abandon the ocean and trudge up the sand in defeat. 2 will be dragged out unconscious by safety divers. 1 will be airlifted to hospital with severe hypothermia. His core temperature dropped so low that his heart barely functions. This is day 5 of SASR selection. Day 5. Most of these candidates have already survived 4 days of relentless physical and psychological warfare. They are infantry soldiers, reconnaissance specialists, combat engineers, the cream of the Australian Defence Force. And the ocean is about to break them like children. But this nightmare holds a deeper horror. 6 months after this selection course, a United States Navy SEAL from Team 3 will attempt the exact same swim during a joint training exchange. He will be a veteran of multiple combat deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. He will have survived Hell Week at Coronado. He will have jumped from aircraft at night, cleared buildings under fire, and fought insurgents in close quarters. None of it will prepare him for Swanbourne. He will last 400 meters before the safety boat pulls him from the water, shivering and defeated. His words to the Australian instructors will echo through special operations communities for years afterward. You're not training soldiers. You're selecting psychopaths who want to die. Welcome to the stretch of sand that breaks more elite warriors than any other single test in the democratic world. Welcome to what Navy SEALs call the drowning ground. Swanbourne Beach sits 15 kilometers west of Perth's central business district, a modest strip of sand approximately 1.5 kilometers long. To the casual observer, it appears unremarkable. Families visit on summer weekends. Joggers run along the shore. Surfers catch waves in the afternoon. But this beach holds a secret that has shaped Australia's most lethal military unit for over 6 decades. The location itself creates the horror. Unlike the beaches used by American SEALs or British Special Forces, Swanbourne faces the full fury of the Indian Ocean with zero natural protection. No barrier reef softens the swells. No islands break the wave energy. The Southern Ocean generates massive storm systems that travel thousands of kilometers before slamming into Western Australia's coast. These swells arrive at Swanbourne with their power intact, creating conditions that shift from challenging to deadly within hours. Strong southwesterly winds dominate during winter months, whipping the ocean into a frothing chaos. Multiple permanent rip currents carve through the surf zone, their positions shifting with the tide. These rips move faster than most humans can swim, pulling victims offshore toward shipping lanes. A rocky outcrop juts from the water at the northern end of the beach, creating a navigation hazard in darkness and heavy seas. And sitting just behind the dunes, watching over this aquatic killing field, stands Campbell Barracks, the headquarters of Australia's Special Air Service Regiment. The SASR established itself at Swanbourne in 1957, modeling its structure and selection process on the British SAS. Beach training began in the early 1960s, borrowed from British coastal warfare techniques. But where the British used sheltered coves and controlled conditions, the Australians embraced the raw brutality of the Indian Ocean. Proximity to barracks made Swanbourne convenient. The challenging conditions made it perfect. Over decades, this beach became the crucible where SASR forged its identity. The comparison to other elite forces reveals Swanbourne's unique savagery. United States Navy SEALs train at Coronado Beach in California, where winter water temperatures range from 13 to 16 degrees Celsius, similar to Swanbourne. But Coronado's waves typically measure 1 to 2 meters, smaller and more manageable. More critically, Point Loma provides shelter from the worst Pacific swells. Coronado can be brutal, but nature has blunted its sharpest edges. British SAS candidates face cold water immersion at Lulworth Cove in Dorset, where winter temperatures drop to 8 to 12 degrees, colder than Swanbourne. But the cove's sheltered geography creates gentler seas, with waves rarely exceeding 1.5 meters. The British test cold tolerance and determination, but in a controlled maritime environment. Swanbourne combines the worst elements of both locations while adding unique Australian savagery. Cold water merges with massive swells, strong currents, and complete exposure to ocean conditions. The result creates a test that exists nowhere else in Western Special Forces training. Not colder than British waters, not rougher than some Pacific beaches. But the specific combination of distance, temperature, surf, and current creates conditions that push human survival to its absolute limit. The standard SASR selection beach test carries the official designation Combat Swimming Assessment. It occurs on day 5 or 6 of the 21-day selection course. Candidates who reach this point have already survived nearly a week of sleep deprivation, forced marches, and psychological pressure. They are exhausted, battered, and operating on mental reserves they never knew existed. And now, the ocean waits. Phase 1 constitutes the main event. 4 kilometers total. 2 kilometers north to the rocky outcrop, then 2 kilometers south back to the starting point. Candidates wear full combat uniforms including trousers, shirt, and boots. They carry their F-88 austere rifle weighing 3.6 kilograms, or a dummy equivalent. Empty webbing adds another 2 kilograms of weight. Formation requires buddy pairs, with candidates swimming within 10 meters of their partner at all times. No official time limit exists, but the unspoken rule operates with brutal clarity. Complete the swim before hypothermia renders you incapable. But Phase 1 represents only the beginning of the horror. Immediately after dragging themselves from the ocean, candidates must complete Phase 2. A 400-meter sprint up the beach through soft sand, still wearing their soaked uniform, waterlogged boots, and carrying their weapon. Legs barely function after 90 minutes of swimming in hypothermic conditions. Many candidates collapse. The instructors watch without emotion. Get up. Keep moving. Phase 3 delivers the final psychological blow. Candidates lie down in the surf zone, where waves break over their bodies. They link arms, creating a human chain. Duration lasts 30 to 60 minutes, depending on instructor discretion. The rule carries absolute authority. No one leaves until everyone leaves. The weakest candidate determines when the suffering ends. Team pressure mounts with each passing minute. Cold water continues draining body heat. The candidate who wanted to quit during the swim now faces a new choice. Quit now and end everyone's suffering, or hold on and make your teammates endure more. The conditions transform this test from challenging to horrific. Winter selection courses, running from June through August, create peak brutality. Water temperature ranges from 16 to 18 degrees Celsius. Air temperature drops to 8 to 12 degrees. Hypothermia onset begins within 15 to 30 minutes for a stationary person. Even with the heat generated by swimming, severe hypothermia threatens after 90 to 120 minutes in the water. Summer courses offer slightly gentler conditions. Water warms to 20 to 22 degrees Celsius. Air temperature climbs to 25 to 30 degrees. The swim remains challenging due to distance, surf, and equipment, but the cold no longer threatens immediate incapacitation. SASR runs selection courses year-round with zero seasonal adjustment. Winter candidates face the full horror. Summer candidates get a marginally less deadly version of the same test. The regiment makes no apologies for this disparity. Operational deployments don't wait for favorable weather. Wave conditions add another layer of danger. Typical winter swells measure 2 to 3 meters with periods of 12 to 15 seconds. These long, powerful swells originate in the Southern Ocean and arrive at Swanbourne with enormous energy. Swimmers cannot go around the waves. They must swim over them or punch through them. Energy expenditure becomes massive. Fighting the current while simultaneously battling walls of water creates exhaustion that multiplies exponentially. The worst documented conditions occurred during a 2011 selection course. Wave height reached 4 meters. Wind screamed at 45 knots. The directing staff faced a decision: cancel the swim and lose a day of selection, or proceed and risk casualties. They chose to proceed, deeming the conditions character building. 18 of 31 candidates quit during the swim. The remainder completed it, emerging from the ocean more dead than alive. The regiment logged this as a successful selection event. Permanent rip currents at Swanbourne create an additional hazard that most special forces never face. These rips shift positions slightly with the tide but remain consistently dangerous. They move at 2 to 4 knots, faster than most humans can swim even in ideal conditions. A candidate caught in a rip gets pulled offshore toward shipping lanes, away from safety, away from help. Swimming against the current proves futile and accelerates hypothermia through increased exertion. Safety protocols exist. Zodiac inflatable boats position themselves offshore with clear views of all swimmers. SASR qualified combat divers stand ready on each boat. Expert rescue swimmers who can enter the water within seconds. A medical team waits on the beach with warming equipment and emergency supplies. Royal Perth Hospital sits 15 minutes away by ambulance, but the psychological torture lies in the implementation of these safety measures. Candidates must signal for help by raising their hand. The safety is available. Using it means automatic failure. The question becomes simple and terrible. Will you drown rather than quit? The human body undergoes a predictable physiological cascade during a 4-kilometer swim in 16-degree water. Understanding this cascade reveals why so many candidates fail and why some nearly die. 0 to 5 minutes brings the cold shock response. An involuntary gasp reflex triggers the moment skin contacts cold water. If a swimmer's head goes under during this gasp, drowning becomes likely. Hyperventilation follows, with breathing rate spiking 300 to 500% above normal. Heart rate rockets to 160 to 180 beats per minute. Peripheral vasoconstriction begins immediately as blood retreats from limbs to protect the core. Fingers and toes start going numb. This phase kills weak swimmers before they travel 100 meters. 5 to 15 minutes marks the initial adaptation or failure window. Breathing normalizes for candidates who survive the cold shock. Body temperature begins dropping at 0.2 to 0.5 degrees Celsius per 15 minutes. Manual dexterity declines sharply. Fingers stop working properly, making it difficult to maintain grip on the rifle. This phase separates those who can continue from those who cannot. Weak swimmers realize with absolute clarity that they lack the capacity to complete 4 kilometers. Many quit here, walking up the beach with their heads down. 15 to 45 minutes ushers in stage 1 hypothermia. Core temperature drops to 35 to 36 degrees Celsius from a normal 37 degrees. Shivering intensifies as the body desperately tries to generate heat through muscle contractions. Mental function becomes slightly impaired with slower decision-making and reduced situational awareness. Swimming efficiency drops as muscles stiffen and coordination declines. Candidates at this stage can still complete the swim if they possess sufficient mental fortitude. 45 to 90 minutes brings stage 2 moderate hypothermia. Core temperature falls to 33 to 35 degrees. Shivering may stop entirely, a dangerous sign indicating the body has abandoned heat generation. Confusion and disorientation set in. Navigation becomes difficult. Muscle rigidity transforms swimming into a mechanical, inefficient struggle. Many candidates get extracted during this phase. pulled from the water unconscious or unresponsive. The safety boats circle like sharks, instructors watching through binoculars for the telltale signs of a swimmer in crisis. 90 minutes and beyond enters Stage 3 severe hypothermia territory. Core temperature drops below 33 degrees. Loss of consciousness becomes likely. Cardiac arrhythmia risk spikes dramatically. The heart may simply stop beating. This stage rarely occurs during the SASR swim because safety protocols typically extract candidates before they reach this point. But the word typically carries weight. Not always. Just typically. The timeline of a typical strong candidate reveals the architecture of this horror in granular detail. 0430 hours. Enter water. Heart rate hits 180 beats per minute from combined cold shock and anxiety. The first 100 meters dissolve into chaos. Waves break over gasping men. Some candidates already struggle, their strokes deteriorating into panicked flailing. 0445 hours. 400 meters in. The first quits begin. Candidates turn toward shore and walk up the beach, their selection over. Remaining swimmers find their rhythm, controlling breathing, settling into sustainable stroke rates. Instructors watch from the beach through binoculars, noting who struggles. 0515 hours. 1 kilometer covered. Approximately 25% of candidates have quit. Remaining swimmers show visible signs of hypothermia even from shore. Shivering becomes so violent it disrupts swimming technique. Buddy pairs begin separating as weaker swimmers slow down. Stronger swimmers face the brutal choice. Wait for your buddy and expose yourself to more cold, or continue alone and fail the buddy requirement. 0600 hours, 2 kilometers, the turnaround point at the rocks. Approximately 50% of the original cohort remain in the water. Conditions worsen for survivors. 90 minutes of swimming and cold have created deep fatigue. Core temperatures hover around 34 degrees. Confusion sets in. Some swimmers lose track of where they are, what they're doing, why they're suffering. Safety boats circle tighter, watching for unconsciousness. 0645 hours. 3 kilometers. The breaking point. Candidates who made it this far often quit here. The psychology becomes unbearable. They can see the beach. The finish line sits only 1 kilometer away, but that final kilometer stretches like an eternity. Hypothermia has reached severe levels. Bodies barely respond to commands. The decision to quit here carries particular shame because success was so close. But shame cannot warm frozen muscles or restore failing mental function. 0715 hours. 4 kilometers. Finish. Approximately 30 to 40% of the original cohort complete the swim. They drag themselves from the ocean and immediately transition to the beach sprint. No rest. No recovery. 400 meters up soft sand. Candidates fall as their legs refuse to function. Hypothermia has stolen muscle control. Instructors show no sympathy. Get up. Move. 0730 hours. Surf immersion begins. Candidates lie in the surf zone. Waves break over their bodies. Arms linked together. The instructor watches, waiting to see who quits now. You already finished the swim. Why keep suffering? Duration lasts 30 to 60 minutes until the instructor calls the end. This phase tests pure mental resilience divorced from physical capability. 0830 hours. Exercise complete. Candidates move to the medical tent for warm showers, hot drinks, and monitoring. Those who completed number approximately 15 to 20 from an original 40 to 50. Medical extractions account for 2 to 5, pulled unconscious or severely hypothermic. Quits total 25 to 30, the majority. The ocean always claims the majority. But the true horror of Swanbourne emerges not from statistics, but from specific incidents. Real men nearly drowning in real water. Real hearts stopping in real chests. The 2004 near drowning stands as documented proof that safety protocols sometimes fail. Winter selection, July 2004. Water temperature 15 degrees. Waves 3 meters. Wind 40 knots. The candidate was an infantry soldier with 4-year service. His recreational surf life-saving background made him a strong swimmer by any normal standard, but Swanbourne operates beyond normal standards. 04:45 hours, 15 minutes into the swim. The candidate swam strongly in the front third of the pack. His buddy struggled, a weaker swimmer starting to lag behind. The candidate made the correct choice according to protocol. He slowed his pace to stay within 10 meters of his buddy. 05:15 hours. The buddy showed severe distress, hyperventilating, unable to maintain proper stroke technique. The candidate attempted to assist, grabbing his buddy's webbing and trying to tow him. The buddy panicked. In panic, he grabbed the candidate and pulled him underwater. Panic grants inhuman strength. The buddy's grip became a death grip. 05:18 hours. The critical moment arrived. Both candidates went underwater, struggling against each other and the waves. The candidate lost grip on his rifle. It sank, taking away his positive buoyancy. The buddy clung to him with the mindless strength of drowning panic. Waves broke over both men, dunking them repeatedly, filling their lungs with salt water. 05:20 hours. The candidate ingested water. His lungs began filling. The buddy went unconscious, his body going limp. Unconsciousness actually saved the candidate's life because the buddy's grip released. The safety boat arrived, divers entering the water. 05:21 hours. Divers pulled both candidates from the ocean. The candidate remained conscious but vomited seawater. The buddy lay unconscious, not breathing. 05:22 hours. CPR initiated on the safety boat deck. The candidate, despite breathing and coherent speech, refused evacuation. He wanted to continue the swim. The instructor made the decision. Both withdrawn. Medical emergency takes priority. 05:25 hours. The buddy revived. Coughing. Breathing restored. A helicopter airlifted him to Royal Perth Hospital as a precaution. Drowning complications can manifest hours after revival. The candidate was medically withdrawn from selection due to water inhalation and pneumonia risk. The outcome carries bitter irony. The buddy recovered fully, but never returned to SASR selection. The candidate recovered and reattempted selection 6 months later. He passed. He became an SASR operator and served from 2005 until 2018. In a 2015 interview conducted anonymously, he revealed the lesson Swanbourne taught him. "I nearly drowned trying to save my buddy. When I came back for selection, same swim, I didn't try to save anyone. I swam my own swim. That sounds selfish, but it's what SASR taught me. You can't help your team if you're dead." The post-incident investigation found no fault. Safety boat response time clocked at 2 minutes, within acceptable range. Divers performed correctly. The candidate's actions were deemed heroic despite nearly killing him. No policy changes resulted. The directing staff classified the incident as an inherent risk of training. The swim would continue unchanged, but individual near drownings pale compared to mass casualty events. The 2009 hypothermia evacuation involved multiple simultaneous medical emergencies that nearly forced termination of the entire exercise. Winter selection, August 2009. Water 16 degrees. Waves 2.5 meters. Wind 35 knots. 44 candidates began the swim under standard conditions. What followed tested the limits of the safety protocols. 0430 hours. Swim begins. 0600 hours. 90 minutes elapsed. First medical extraction. A candidate floated unconscious in the water. Safety boat retrieval. Medical assessment revealed core temperature of 32.8 degrees Celsius. Severe hypothermia. Immediate medevac by ambulance to hospital. 0615 hours. Second medical extraction. The candidate appeared disoriented, unable to navigate. He initially refused extraction, trying to continue swimming. The instructor on the boat ended the debate. "You're done. Get in." The candidate was too hypothermic to climb into the boat. Crew members had to lift him bodily from the water. 0630 hours. Disaster multiplied. Third extraction. A candidate vomiting in the water created aspiration risk. Fourth extraction. A candidate floating face down, unconscious, 0645 hours. The instructor made the unprecedented decision. Terminate exercise. Recall all remaining candidates to shore immediately. Medical team assessment revealed a catastrophic failure point. 8 candidates showed stage 2 moderate hypothermia. Core temperatures ranged from 33 to 34 degrees. They exhibited confusion, cessation of shivering, and slurred speech. All 8 were transported to hospital as a precaution. All were released within 24 hours. All recovered fully. But the mass casualty event could not be ignored. Final casualty count painted a grim picture. Total medical extractions numbered 12 from 44 starters. Hospitalizations reached 8. Quits totaled 18 who walked up the beach before medical issues forced extraction. Completed swim. 14 candidates. Only 32% of the cohort. The ocean had won decisively. The Australian Defence Force medical investigation ran from 2009 to 2010. Reviewers examined water temperature protocols with scientific rigor. Their finding carried uncomfortable truth. Water temperature of 16 degrees Celsius combined with 90-plus minute exposure exceeds safe limits for non-specialized personnel. Their recommendation followed logically. Reduce swim distance in winter or increase water temperature threshold for conducting the exercise. SASR response: rejected. Complete rejection. Their reasoning brooked no argument. Operational deployments do not have temperature thresholds. Selection must reflect reality. A compromise was implemented, but it didn't touch the swim itself. Mandatory medical screening improved to better assess hypothermia risk. Safety boat coverage increased with more divers on standby. The distance remained 4 kilometers. The temperature threshold remained unchanged. The swim continued exactly as before. But perhaps no single incident captures Swanbourne's reputation better than the 2012 United States Navy SEAL exchange. The drowning ground nickname originated here, spoken by men who thought they had experienced the worst water training possible. Joint training exercise, SASR hosting U.S. Navy SEAL Team 3 from Coronado, California. 12 SEAL operators arrived. All were BUD/S graduates who had survived the notorious Hell Week. All carried multiple combat deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. Their expectation was clear. We're SEALs. We know how to swim. The SASR challenged them. Let's see if SEALs can handle our selection swim. July 2012. Water 17 degrees Celsius. Waves 2 meters. Wind 30 knots. The SASR made a concession to their guests. Modified distance of 2 kilometers instead of the full 4. Half distance. Surely elite American operators could manage half the standard SASR test. 0430 hours. Briefing. The SASR instructor laid out the task. This is the swim we use to select our operators. You'll do half distance, full uniform, weapon, buddy pairs. Several SEALs laughed. They thought it sounded easy. They were about to learn otherwise. 0445 hours. Enter water. First 200 meters showed SEAL superiority. Excellent swimming technique. Powerful strokes. The SEALs moved through the water with the confidence of men who had trained at Coronado for years. The SASR operators kept pace with less refined technique but steady endurance. 400 meters. The first SEAL team raised their hands, requesting extraction. Both buddies quit simultaneously, following protocol. Their reason? Hypothermia. Shivering violently. Unable to continue. The safety boat picked them up. One SEAL's quote to the Australians became legendary. "What the fuck is wrong with you people? This water is freezing." 600 meters. Second SEAL pair quit. 8 SEALs remained in the water, now visibly struggling. 800 meters. Third SEAL pair quit. 4 SEALs left. 1 kilometer. The turnaround point. Fourth SEAL pair quit. One operator wanted to continue, but his buddy called it. Buddy protocol meant both withdrew. Final count? 0 SEALs completed the 2-kilometer swim. All 12 withdrew or quit. All 8 SASR operators completed the full 2 kilometers easily. The contrast could not have been starker. The post-swim debrief revealed a philosophical chasm. The SEAL Team 3 commander addressed the Australians with brutal honesty. At Coronado, we do cold water swims. But this is different. The waves, the cold, the duration. It's not just hard, it's stupid. You're not selecting for ability. You're selecting for who's crazy enough to not care if they die. The SASR instructor's response entered Special Operations lore. That's exactly what we're selecting for. A U.S. Navy SEAL Team 3 operator gave an anonymous interview in 2014 that crystallized the American perspective. After that swim, we started calling Swanbourne the drowning ground. Not because people actually drown, though they almost do, but because the Aussies are willing to get so close to drowning that it stops being training and starts being Russian roulette. At Coronado, we push limits. At Swanbourne, they erase limits. Different philosophy. The SEAL compared Swanbourne to Bud/S Hell Week ocean swims with clinical precision. Bud/S water temperature actually runs colder, 13 to 16 degrees Celsius. Distance measures roughly 2 miles or 3.2 kilometers, similar to SASR, but BUD/S candidates wear less restrictive gear. UDT shorts, no boots, no rifle. Teams of 6 to 8 provide mutual support. The SASR swim uses buddy pairs only. Full combat load significantly heavier. The psychological difference cuts deepest. SASR swim is solo suffering in pairs. Each man alone with his thoughts, his fear, his decision to continue or quit. One Team 3 operator's 2014 assessment carried particular weight. Bud/S breaks you down to build you up. We want you to fail so you learn to succeed as a team. SASR doesn't give a fuck about building you up. They want to see who's already built. If you drown, you weren't built right. It's Darwinian. This comparison illuminates why Swanbourne stands apart from all other Special Forces water training. U.S. Navy SEALs conduct famous surf torture where candidates sit in the surf zone for 30 to 60 minutes while waves break over them. Water temperature ranges from 13 to 16 degrees, comparable to Swanbourne, but there's no swimming component, just sitting. The purpose targets team cohesion and cold tolerance. Bud/S Ocean swims cover 2 miles multiple times during Hell Week, but they're designed for completion. Most candidates pass. SEAL philosophy dictates that 80% should complete water training. The ocean is a tool to test you, not destroy you. British SAS selection includes cold water immersion in rivers and lakes, lasting minutes to hours. But it's not swimming focused. Emphasis falls on land navigation. The Special Boat Service, Britain's equivalent of SEALs, conducts extensive swimming in water temperatures of 8 to 14 degrees, colder than Swanbourne, but swimmers wear wetsuits providing thermal protection. British philosophy separates swimming ability from cold tolerance testing. Combining them excessively risks losing capable operators to preventable hypothermia. SASR Swanbourne combines every element into one horrific test. 4 kilometers, longest distance of any Western Special Forces selection. Full combat gear plus rifle. Heaviest load. 16 to 18 degrees water temperature. Moderate cold. Waves 2 to 4 meters. Largest and most dangerous surf conditions. The combination creates unique brutality. Long distance plus heavy load plus cold plus massive surf equals something that exists nowhere else. The psychological warfare component elevates Swanbourne beyond mere physical challenge. Element 1 involves no stated time limit. Candidates don't know if they're swimming too slowly or too quickly. Some swim fast and burn out from cold, combined with exertion. Some swim slow and succumb to hypothermia from prolonged exposure. They must find the perfect pace through trial and error during the test itself. No practice run, no second chance. Element 2 exploits buddy pairs to create betrayal temptation. The rule demands staying within 10 meters of your buddy. Reality means strong swimmers must slow down for weak swimmers. The psychological tension becomes unbearable. Help your buddy and hurt yourself by exposing yourself to more cold. Abandon your buddy and fail the test, but potentially survive. SASR watches to see who helps and who abandons. A 2010 selection provided a case study in this cruelty. A strong swimmer, an elite state-level water polo player, was paired with a weak buddy, a basic infantry soldier with minimal swimming experience. 800 meters in, the buddy struggled with hypothermia and slowing pace. The strong swimmer stayed with him, slowing his own pace to match. 1.5 kilometers in, the buddy quit. He couldn't continue. The strong swimmer was also withdrawn. Buddy pair rule. One quits, both fail. The swimmer protested. "I could have finished. I was fine." The instructor's response revealed SASR philosophy. Your buddy quit because you didn't help him enough. You should have towed him. You failed him. The swimmer argued. I stayed with him. The instructor delivered the lesson. Staying with someone isn't the same as carrying them. Next time, carry. SASR expects operators to carry struggling teammates, not merely accompany them. Element 3 creates the safety boat paradox. Safety boats remain visible throughout the entire swim. Candidates know rescue is available at any moment. The psychological warfare cuts deep. The boat represents salvation, warmth, safety, life. The boat represents failure, career over, dreams crushed. The question SASR poses is simple and terrible. Will you drown rather than signal for help? A 2007 incident documented this paradox in action. A candidate developed severe stage 2 hypothermia. Symptoms included confusion, disorientation, swimming in circles. The safety boat followed him for 15 minutes, watching but not intervening. The candidate never raised his hand, never asked for help. Eventually, he stopped swimming and floated unconscious. The safety boat moved immediately. Divers entered the water within 30 seconds. The candidate was pulled out, revived, and hospitalized. He recovered fully. 6 months later, he reattempted selection. He passed. He became an SASR operator. The instructor's assessment entered the permanent record. He proved he'd rather die than quit. That's the mentality we need. The official record on SASR selection fatalities states 0 deaths during Swanbourne swims from 1960 to 2024. How is this possible, given the extreme conditions? 2 theories exist. Theory 1 credits exceptional safety protocols. Multiple safety boats always present. SASR qualified combat divers serving as expert rescue swimmers. Medical team on beach with immediate response capability. Intervention threshold allows instructors to pull candidates even if they don't ask for help. The moment unconsciousness appears, extraction happens. Theory 2 points to medical screening eliminating high-risk candidates. Pre-selection medical examinations include cardiac and pulmonary function tests. Swimming proficiency pre-tests occur weeks before selection. Weak swimmers never make it to day 5. They fail earlier physical tests and wash out before reaching the ocean. But persistent rumors challenge the official narrative. Anonymous whistleblower accounts from 2018 published online claim 2 deaths during Swanbourne swims in the 1970s and 80s. Alleged cause: drowning combined with hypothermia. The supposed cover-up classified deaths as generic training accidents rather than specifically SASR selection casualties. Families were allegedly told deaths occurred during routine training, not selection courses. ADF response: never officially confirmed or denied. Standard no comment on classified matters. Official policy classifies SASR selection details, including casualty reports. The truth remains locked behind security classifications. Investigative journalism by ABC News Australia in 2019 reviewed ADF training fatalities from 1960 to 2019. They found 17 deaths during special operations training, including both SASR and commandos. Breakdown by type showed 8 parachute accidents, 4 vehicle accidents, 3 live fire accidents, and 2 water-related deaths, with details classified. Those 2 water deaths carried dates listed as redacted. Locations stated only Western Australia. Could be Swanbourne. Could be other locations. Circumstances remained classified. Official cause of death: drowning during training exercise. Were these Swanbourne swim deaths? Unknown. ADF refuses to specify. Comparative context with other special forces proves illuminating. U.S. Navy SEALs publicly disclosed 5 training deaths since 2000. A candidate drowned during a pool exercise in 2016. Another died of cardiac arrest during Hell Week in 2022. Other causes varied, but public records exist for all. British SAS publicly disclosed 3 deaths since 2000. A candidate died of hyperthermia during a selection march in 2013. Others involved equipment failures and falls. SASR publicly disclosed deaths since 2000? 0. Either they maintain a perfect safety record, which would be impressive, or deaths remain classified, which would be concerning. The closest documented call came in 2015. Winter selection, June. A 28-year-old Army Reserve soldier participated. Water 15 degrees. Waves 3.5 meters. Rough conditions even by Swanbourne standards. 1.8 kilometers into the swim, the candidate stopped swimming and began treading water. His buddy continued, not noticing immediately. The candidate floated face down. Unresponsive. Safety boat response time measured 90 seconds. The boat was 200 meters away. Divers pulled the candidate from the water. Not breathing. No pulse. CPR initiated immediately on the boat deck. Defibrillator delivered 1 shock. 2 minutes of CPR restored pulse. Helicopter evacuation was called. Arrival took 12 minutes. The candidate was airlifted to Royal Perth Hospital with a diagnosis of cardiac arrest triggered by severe hypothermia and exhaustion. ICU admission for 24 hours. Induced coma for brain protection. The outcome? He survived with full recovery and 0 brain damage. Undiagnosed cardiac arrhythmia. Exacerbated by cold caused the arrest. He never returned to SASR selection. Medically disqualified. Cardiologist estimate on survival probability? Without immediate CPR and defibrillation, survival probability less than 5%. He was clinically dead for approximately 90 seconds. A DF internal review found safety protocols functioned correctly. The candidate's underlying condition could not have been predicted. No policy changes resulted. Former SASR directing staff provided anonymous interview responses in 2017 that revealed instructor philosophy. When asked why not reduce swim distance to 2 kilometers instead of 4, the answer came back cold and certain. Because 2 kilometers is achievable. Everyone would pass. We don't want everyone. We want the 10% who'll keep swimming when their brain is screaming to stop. The extra 2 kilometers isn't about distance. It's about breaking the rational mind. Asked whether they want candidates to nearly drown, the instructor drew a distinction. We want them to think they're drowning and keep swimming anyway. There's a difference. The safety is there. But they can't know we'll save them. They have to believe if I stop, I die. Because in combat, that's reality. No safety boat in Uruzgan province. When confronted with U.S. SEALs calling Swanbourne the drowning ground and asked if that makes them proud, the answer carried 0 hesitation. Absolutely. It means they respect what we do. SEALs are exceptional operators, but their selection is designed to pass 80% eventually. Ours is designed to fail 95%. Different goals. We're not better than SEALs. We're selecting for different things. Candidates who passed offered their own perspectives. A former SASR operator who served from 2008 to 2020 described the moment of choice. At 3 kilometers, I couldn't feel my legs. My buddy was unconscious from hypothermia, and I was towing him. The safety boat was right there. I could see the instructor watching me. I knew if I raise my hand, I'm warm in 60 seconds. But I'm also done. Forever. I chose cold. I chose drowning. I chose pain. Not because I'm tough, because the idea of quitting hurt worse than the hypothermia. That's what the swim tests. Not your body, but what you'll tolerate to avoid being the guy who quit. Another operator from 2012 to 2019 offered analysis. The swim isn't the hardest thing in SASR selection physically. The long walk is harder. Escape and evasion is harder. But the swim is the most psychological. Because you're fighting yourself. Your body is begging you to stop. Your brain is listing reasons to quit. And the only thing keeping you going is stubbornness, pride, insanity. I don't know what to call it. But SASR knows how to find it. The physiological reality explains how candidates complete 4 kilometers in hypothermic conditions. Survival mechanism 1 involves heat generation through movement. Swimming constitutes vigorous exercise that generates heat. Core temperature drops, but slower than stationary immersion. Calculations show stationary immersion in 16-degree water causes hypothermia in 30 to 45 minutes. Swimming in the same temperature delays hypothermia onset to 90 to 120 minutes. Swim duration for a strong candidate runs 90 to 110 minutes, just barely sustainable. The math balances on a knife edge. Survival mechanism: 2 exploits buddy pairs for shared body heat. Swimming close to a buddy within 10 meters provides slight thermal benefit. More importantly, psychological warmth from knowing you're not alone reduces panic and improves efficiency. Survival mechanism: 3 leverages fitness level. SASR candidates represent the top 1% physically, having survived previous selection phases. Higher muscle mass generates more heat. Better cardiovascular systems distribute heat efficiently. The math demonstrates that average humans would die in these conditions. Hypothermia leads to unconsciousness, which leads to drowning. Elite athletes might survive if they're strong swimmers. SASR candidates survive because they're pre-selected. The weak ones already quit in earlier phases. The layered safety protocols explain why fatalities remain rare despite extreme conditions. Layer 1 implements pre-screening. Swimming tests weeks before selection. Medical evaluations including cardiac screening and cold tolerance assessment. Result: high-risk candidates never reach the Swanbourne swim. Layer 2 uses instructor observation, directing staff on beach with binoculars watching every candidate. Training enables recognition of hypothermic swimming patterns like erratic strokes and confusion. Intervention threshold allows instructors to order extraction without the candidate requesting help. Layer 3 deploys multiple safety boats, 1 per 10 candidates. SASR combat divers on each boat serve as expert rescue swimmers. Response time to any candidate measures under 2 minutes. Layer 4 positions medical teams on the beach standing by. Paramedics ready with warming equipment. Ambulance on standby capable of arriving on site within 5 minutes. Royal Perth Hospital sits 15 minutes away, a trauma center with hypothermia specialists. The result pushes candidates to the edge of death, but pulls them back before crossing. The horror lies not in candidates dying, but in how close they get. The historical evolution of the swim reveals how Swanbourne changed SASR over decades. 1960s early SASR used 2-kilometer distance, half the current standard. Equipment consisted of swim trunks and fins with no combat gear. Pass rate approached 40%, designed to be achievable. 1970s to 80s incorporated Vietnam lessons. Distance increased to 3 kilometers. Combat uniform was added, though rifles came later. Reasoning stemmed from Vietnam experience, showing SASR needed operators comfortable in water while wearing gear. River crossings occurred frequently. Pass rate dropped to 25%. 1990s through 2000s marked the modern era. Distance jumped to 4 kilometers. Full combat load, including rifle, became mandatory. Operations in Timor and Afghanistan required extended swims in full gear. Pass rate crashed to 15%, where it remains today. The trend shows the swim getting progressively harder over time. SASR raises the bar as each previous generation passes, ensuring only the most capable survive selection. International reputation among foreign special forces reflects grudging respect mixed with disbelief. A U.S. Navy SEAL interviewed in 2016 offered assessment. Swanbourne is a litmus test. If you survive it, you can probably survive anything. But it's not how we do it. Americans want efficiency. Australians want purity. Different cultures. British SAS commentary from 2019 carried familial pride and horror. The Aussies inherited our selection model and made it crueler. We're proud and slightly horrified. An Israeli Sayeret Matkal operator speaking anonymously in 2014 drew parallels. We train in desert heat. They train in ocean cold. Both are trying to find the same thing. Who refuses to die? Just different methods of asking the question. Modern controversy emerged post-2020 following the Brereton Report war crimes investigation. 39 unlawful killings in Afghanistan triggered scrutiny of SASR training methods. Questions arose whether brutal training created brutal operators. Media criticism from 2020 to 2021 labeled SASR selection as torture disguised as training. Claims stated Swanbourne swim causes PTSD before operators see combat. Calls for independent review of training methods gained momentum. ADF commissioned a review in 2021. The finding concluded the swim is extreme but serves legitimate purpose. Recommendation maintained current standards with no changes. Public debate split into camps. Pro-training advocates argued war is harder than training, and better candidates quit in Swanbourne than die in Kandahar. Anti-training critics countered that other special forces don't risk drowning, and this represents institutional machismo. Current status as of 2024. The swim continues unchanged. SASR maintains operational necessity, justifies risk. Final numbers tell the statistical story. Swanbourne swim statistics estimated from 2000 to 2024 show approximately 3,500 total candidates attempted across roughly 70 selection courses. Completed swim? 600 candidates, 17% pass rate. Medical extractions numbered around 200, representing 6% pulled for hypothermia or unconsciousness. Voluntary quits reached 2,700. 77% walked up the beach in defeat. Fatalities officially 0. Alleged unconfirmed deaths? 2 from the 1970s to 80s with details classified. 10 elements combined to make Swanbourne the drowning ground. Distance of 4 kilometers represents the longest combat swim in Western Special Forces selection. Temperature of 16 degrees Celsius creates cold enough conditions for hypothermia in 90 minutes. Waves measuring 2 to 4 meters generate open ocean swells far beyond pool or calm water challenges. Equipment load of full combat gear plus rifle adds 20 kilograms plus weight. Duration of 90 to 120 minutes ensures sustained suffering. Buddy pairs force moral tests of helping or abandoning teammates. Safety paradox offers rescue, but using it means failure, creating psychological torture. No time limit leaves candidates uncertain whether they're fast enough. Immediate follow-up with beach sprint and surf immersion prevents recovery. Philosophy designed to make quitting seem rational tests who remains irrational enough to continue. In 2012, a United States Navy SEAL veteran of hundreds of combat missions lasted 400 meters in Swanbourne before the safety boat pulled him out. His words echoed through special operations communities. You're selecting psychopaths who want to die. The SASR instructor's response defined the regiment's philosophy. We're selecting operators who refuse to die even when dying is easier. Swanbourne Beach measures 1.5 kilometers of sand on the Indian Ocean. For 60 years, it has asked the same question in freezing water and crushing waves. Will you keep going when every rational part of your brain screams to stop? Most men answer no. SASR is built from the few who answer yes. That answer, more than any weapon or tactic, explains why they call it the drowning ground.